No, wait.
Wow. Baby like chicks.
Okay,
Alright.
ready to go?
Yeah.
Winterview's in now.
Shall I start?
Sure, why not?
Okay. My first question is to Mop. Mop, what is winter to you?
Ooh. That's a very difficult question there, Sam. Yes. It is sound. It is experimentation. It is finding yourself. I don't fucking... Really don't.
Are we being ridiculous with this?
I don't know.
No.
We should be quite serious.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
really serious.
This
is
That's
sensible.
a good question. Like,
It is.
What is
answer it,
What is?
bitch.
Oh,
What is like?
what is winter?
What I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, what is this whole process going to do? Going to mean for you in like when we're done? When you listen back to what we've done and say like, this was winter. Like, how do you say? This is what we did. I suppose like. I suppose it's a difficult question.
It
to ask,
is
isn't
it is a difficult question. Like, what is it that we're doing here? Well, we're
Yeah, what is it that we're doing here? Is my
we're,
question.
we're sort of getting away from everything that's really distracting, i.e. town and people and everything else, and doing something fun, recording, making some noise, being creative.
Yep.
Generally relaxing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay. Someone a question now? Is this how the game works?
Yeah. So Mop asks the next question, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Suppose then I will pass it over to Ryan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Serious?
Yep.
Are you being serious?
No, I am. I am actually being serious, slightly.
Where do you see winter going?
Where do I see it going?
Yes. Do you see it as an annual event, or do you think it's just going to be a one-off? Or like,
I'd like it to be annual, I guess. That would be cool. Because it's like the conversation we were having the other day where, like, no other season is epic enough to be bothered doing this. Like, it can't be like, spring! Yeah, like, it's not exciting enough. Yeah, I
suppose it's exciting for hippies or something like that.
I think
Spring.
it's easily got that potential as long as the other. I suppose the only thing is that we're not finished yet.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, we've still got a couple of days of actual being here left, and then we've got all the stuff that has to be done once we get home, and all the sound editing and all that visual thing and all that. So, you know, if money didn't exist, would we all be here constantly? Probably.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
but for now, I think we can just hope that it's at least an annual thing. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, we can only do what all our time limits allow us to do, really.
It can only be because that's the other thing too. Getting, like, you know, James down from Queensland and Michael coming down from Melbourne or whatever. It's like everyone's pretty much got, like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
nothing much happens in winter really. Like, hospitality's slow, uni has a break. Like, you know,
Finding the best of winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before winter.
so we just have to make something happen
That's true.
by this. Okay.
Ryan's question.
My question. Okay. I guess I'll ask James a question and we should share this out.
I want to talk about winter.
You want to talk about winter?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with a general winter question about, because I was the one thing I was thinking on top of a sort of regular "what does winter mean to you" question is that how has it been being like, oh, let's come back to Tasmania now, let's go to winter sort of thing. It's sort of like, you know, not like we'll sort of have been living down here and have plenty of time to whatever, and you've sort of come back down from Queensland, been in Launceston for like 15 hours, and then come up here sort of thing, like
Straight into it.
straight into it, yeah.
Well, it's like I don't know. Well, I guess it's good that we like planned it and we sort of took some time out to actually go. This is what we're going to do. So it was kind of good to have like a little objective. Like we're just going to just set this time apart, and that is going to be the winter. There's not going to be anything else. It's just going to be go with that.
Yep.
So it's like you can have the rest of the year to do summer and spring and autumn, but then winter comes and it's just like it's good to have that block of time to be able to just do whatever, I suppose, without having to like it's not even like we don't even have to come out with something in the end.
Yeah.
It's still just to go through that process, and it's something that you don't get to do with a group of people all the time. It's something you sort of need to plan a bit, and you just don't get these opportunities enough. Like back when we were in college and whatnot, you'd be able to do it sort of like for a couple of days or something. There'd be room. Probably
but
didn't
you're
have to.
still under time constraints and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
you didn't really have to do a job or anything. It was sort of, a little bit. It was anything goes then, and it's sort of like trying to relive that, I suppose, a bit. Whereas now it's all you have to do these deadlines, with assignments and things, and then work weekends and all that. Terrible.
Yeah.
But it's. I was saying to people like I was coming to winter. It's in the middle of nowhere of the middle of nowhere, pretty much. What? And you're going to do work out there? Well, it's kind of like the holiday, really.
Yeah.
From your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are like, this is laborious or something. It's just what we sort of do. It's a bit of a play. But I called it sort of the holiday, to other people.
Yeah.
So if they could try and make sense of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
What about my question. I kind of want to talk about little things we've done so far. Like we had to go with lots of noise recordings. Like honestly, what do you guys think of the big noise track that we did the other day, which was just
All
I-
that
can I
crazy stuff
answer
of the
that?
three of us. Yeah, go for it.
Is that well, also connecting it back to what winter is, and to me, that us getting together and recording that was like, to me, what winter is. Well, not completely, but it was a good representation of that, because we all sort of got together and were like, instead of being, okay, I'll set up my drums, you set up your guitar, you set up the bass, and we're all going to just stock standard play a band jam together. It was more like, who gives a fuck? Like, you get on that and make as much noise out of that as you can. You do whatever, and I'll do whatever, and and so this recording came together, and it's like, we're not necessarily making anything that's really orally pleasing. Like, it might not sound good to people, but we're connecting ourselves back to what it is that we appreciate about sound, like, in general, like, just making some sort of sound and making it sound like what we want it to. Like, no one else would bother dragging a piano into a room and bashing the shit out of it with mallets, like, because why? Oh, well, who cares? Like, but to us, it's kind of like, well, that sounded cool. Like, that sounded good. Like, that made my ears and everybody else's ears say, like, that sounds really cool. Like, so, like, yes, we may be making just a bunch of noise to everybody else, but to us, like, we're sort of connecting ourselves back to what we love about sound, instead of an artist connecting itself to what he loves about what he paints, or like somebody eating something nice and say, like, this tastes really good. Well, we're just saying this sounds really good. Like, who cares?
I think also it was just the embodiment of the amount of excitement we had. It was just like it's like personally, I've waited for this since January, so it's about like 6 months. And, I've had like uni before, all through that time, and work and getting new jobs and everything else. I'm like, ugh. And then like finally like winter came, got down here with all the gear, everyone's here, got too much gear. We're just like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Sound for the sake of sound.
Yeah, it is, and it's
yeah.
creating for the sake
Yeah, I
of
know.
creating.
Yeah.
It's whether, like you said, whether we come out with a result or not, that's not the point.
Yeah, that's-
I think the point is that we created with
We-
no result.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just sort of finding something interesting in,
Yeah.
in
Because
especially like the piano,
yeah,
something that's dead. Basically, like it's been put in the ocean and it's been ruined by us more, sort of thing. But yeah, the other thing that with that noise jam and those sort of ideas, I kind of enjoy just the sandbox nature of it. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Like let's build this up. What? Let's do this and what? Okay, and like, and it's not like it's not going to stay there. It's sort of ephemeral, and it's sort of it happens, and then
if something else cool happens, then just like scrap that, start again.
Next thing.
Find the next thing that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the same. That's what I'm saying. It's recording for the point of recording and creating for the point of creating. It's whether you reach an end goal, it doesn't matter.
No.
Whereas in your studies and stuff of sound or of film or of anything, like there's always has to be this certain like you have to get this done right by next week. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't have
And-
a result to show for it, then you fail. Like
And,
no,
and you're creating this for this person to please this person.
yeah. If you don't have a result, then you fail. Like, well, no. If you don't have a result, but like the process is your result. Like going through all these motions and changing all this gear and recording all these different sounds is your creation. Basically, it doesn't matter if you don't come out with something that is crystal clear or is like recordable or is like processable. It's like even just us talking on a microphone or us doing a stupid interview or making a bunch of electronic noise. Like the process of doing that is worth documenting, and that's
exactly.
That's I think what Winter is about. So it's not the end result; it's the doing of something that you wouldn't normally do.
Or have the opportunity to do.
And like we've pretty much been going sort of fairly non-stop since we got down here for the past 4 or 5 days now. But it doesn't feel at all like work. It doesn't feel laborious. I feel relaxed. I feel so relaxed. I've been going non-stop for 5 days and I feel relaxed.
Yeah.
Right. That's I don't know if that's a normal sort of feeling. I think that's a very special winter thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
Because there's just no kind of there's no pressure behind anything you do down here.
Exactly. I think so. And even when you put yourself in a band room situation where we used to jam and stuff like that, we would say to ourselves, look, we've got like until 6 o'clock and someone has to be somewhere at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we've only got 3 hours or whatever to get this done, and we have to get it done, and we have to make it sound good by 6 o'clock. Well, that all goes out the window, doesn't it? It's like, we don't have to get it done by 6 o'clock. We don't have to make anything sound good by then.
Yeah.
And if nothing sounds good by 6 o'clock, it's okay, because, well, we'll just start again tomorrow and wipe everything clean and we'll keep going until something does sound good.
Yeah, I also like how you can, like we've got those other instruments around, like there's the piano and things like that, and how they've got a limited amount of sounds they make, but you've got time to be able to try and work out all the different things you can do with it. Like there's that time for just
Fiddling about.
and actually taking like your time to be able to
And working out how to make it sound completely different. Like this instrument makes this sound. I'm not going to use that sound. I'm going to find out the other sound.
Everything else that it can possibly do.
Yeah. Because I have X amount of days to just fart around with it as much as I want.
Okay, so my question next would be to everybody. We've still managed to, throughout all of this, give ourselves time constraints as to winter starts now and winter finishes on whatever, Thursday or whatever. We've still got this limited time to do things. So do you think when it gets to the point where it's, okay, stop recording and pack up, will you be pleased with everything that you've created, or will you hope for or wish for more time to do the things that we're doing still?
That we would have had been able to be here longer.
Longer, yeah. Do you think that being here longer would help, or do you think that still putting that end point on things will be a better thing for everybody? Like,
Well, I don't think that it would help. I just like it's just sort of like it is what it is, and it's like whatever happens between day one and day however many days we're here, 9 or so, then that's what occurs on those days,
Yeah.
and then obviously later there's still work to be done in
Post-production.
In post.
fixing everything in post, in like collating all of that information and ordering it somehow
But
and
would you have been happy with like winter over 3 days? And like
I-
say the 3 days that I was here
Yeah.
to start, would you have been happy with what we did those days and then just to cut it off there?
I think
Or do you
I think I would have still been happy with it, but I would have wished for more.
Yeah.
Even after
Yeah.
20 days,
So do you think
I
it-
think I still would have wished for more.
So do you
Just-
think at the end of this spell that we're doing here, do you think that after those amount of days, you're going to wish that you had just that extra day longer to do the next thing you want to do?
you always kind of wish that. But then it's just sort of like, what if, and like, what if it was raining right now and maybe we wouldn't be able to do this interview because it would fuck everything up.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You take what you get.
even if come day end game, that I'm sure there'll be some sense of like, oh, I wish I'd have thought of that while I was at winter and we could have done that or something like that. But then you can just sort of hold that excitement for next time, for next winter. You know what I mean? Just keep you pumped for the next one. It doesn't.
There definitely has to be like this reflection period. I think some form of
Oh,
like
there
we've
will be.
done little bits on the way of little snippets, but it's like until you sort of take it out and then maybe listen to it in a completely different environment. Because up here we're very relaxed and sort of very accepting of things. Like we're just happy to go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take it out of there and sort of like if we give it a good like critique of what we're doing, like once we're done with it, and that we can actually say whether things are starting to, we can actually work with that next time, or whether we should just leave that and maybe we should try doing this, and this.
Yeah.
I think my question. I don't know whether to wait for Sam to come back out. He's just gone inside. That's right.
That's handy.
I think my question is, why did we come all the way out here for winter? Like, it was so long ago when we organised it all. Why did we decide to drag ourselves all the way out to Weymouth, of all places, small beachside shack area? I mean, like, James, you came all the way down from Brisbane for it. Michael's going to be coming all the way from Melbourne. We had to drive all the way down to Hobart to pick up like the entire studio's worth of equipment and drag it up to
Multiple
Weymouth.
cars.
Multiple
Pretty
car
much.
trips,
Convoy.
convoys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the closest of our homes is an hour away from here.
Yeah.
Why did we choose to come out to winter, to Weymouth?
Well, first of all, my question would be, when did we choose to come to Weymouth? Like,
All right, let's answer the wheels first. I think we should
yeah,
go to that.
well, that's the same thing. Like,
It was back in, I think it was back in January.
What- was there some sort of? Did you say my shack will be free then?
Well,
So we should come here.
Well, I mean, I think I did.
That was just availability of space.
Yeah, I think it was probably just that.
But at the same time, it's almost like the only space you could do this at.
Yeah.
Like you could not do it in the city or in town or in Hobart or.
Well, certainly not in a
Only
town.
because
but-
of like distractions and
Yeah, it's true.
other things that are going on. It's
So I
very-
suppose the answer to your question would be,
because it's further
It's-
removed from everyone else.
yeah,
and
it's as
everything
far
else.
away as we
it's-
could possibly get to not have to pay for whatever we're staying in or doing.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's a space that we're all reasonably familiar with as well.
It's fairly comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not putting ourselves just in tents on a beach. or
Yeah, like
something
we're not renting space
Yeah.
or anything.
I think it does though. Sort of commits us. Like as soon as we say we're going to go to this space for this time, it's then we've got that sort of commitment. Like okay, we're going to go here, and we're just going to let anything go, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
If we were
There's
doing
not
it
much
like-
chance out here to say, all right, well, I'm done, I'm going to the pub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
an hour was away. So
Yeah,
I drive there for my one beer.
you sort of bring your own passion to it up here, and that's something that's I think it's very different to doing it like in town or at college or something.
Yeah, removing yourself from all other distractions. I suppose it's like.
And you know, just being so removed, we can make noise as late as we need. I mean, the only neighbours across the road, like, they make more noise than we do. So.
1 out of 4 of them come over and help us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
That's the thing.
So,
Okay, so then, that goes back to like, what do you feel like we've gained from being here? Like, what do you think that you've all personally gained from being here? Like, I know what I've gained from being here, and I've thought about that.
Do you want to just go around the circle on that one?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'll start by saying, like, as I was driving home the other day, I was thinking, like, if someone said to me, like, why bother go down there, and what is winter, sort of thing, and I would say, like, well, I've, like, over a long period of time before this, like, say a year or something, just been working and not doing any sort of musical anything, like, I've sort of started to, like, instantly reconnect myself with what I love about sound and about music, and like, just to be like, oh, that's really cool, like, quick, record that, like, and then, like, okay, we can cut it all up and make this awesome thing, and then, like, you know, even now, I'll go home and I'll start listening to things in my room or whatever, just turn everything off, or there's a buzz of something going on, or there's someone talking outside, and I'm like, oh, I just wish I could record that. You know what I mean? Like, and like, that sounds cool. That sounds really good. Like, and you start to gain an appreciation for the sound that's around you again. That's what I think, anyway. By dragging yourself all the way out here and saying, we're going to do this now.
Yeah.
And so everybody tune your ears again, retune your ears, like, to like, no distractions, no noise, no nothing. There's just the silence out here, and you're forced to create what you want to hear, I suppose. I mean, really, the only thing that we've really recorded from being down here that we couldn't do anywhere else is like the sound of the ocean or something like that. But I mean, if you were somewhere that was as remote as this without a beach, the only recordings we would have are the ones that we're forced to do, really. Like, you know, we're forced to create the sounds ourselves. We don't have the traffic buzzing by, or the street lights, or the whatever, like, you know. You can just go out and record quite easily. You know, you're forced. There's no noise out here. There's no sound at all.
So we're creating traffic noises.
We're creating our own sound. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Anyway, that's what I've gained. Anyway, so.
Yeah.
What do you think, I suppose?
I think it's been, for me, it's been a breath of fresh air, really, like figuratively and actually, like, just the quality of the air out here, and to be able to come out and just get out of bustling smog and filth and shit, and just to be able to get some actual, you know, nice fresh air and be in this environment is special in itself. But it's just been sort of on the lines of what you were saying, with the alleviation of any sort of deadline or sort of specific outcome-based requirement or anything like that. Like, it's just been a very. I've really enjoyed the freedom, and still am enjoying the complete freedom of it, and as much as the place makes it what it is, the people make it what it is as well, sort of thing. Like, you, words. Like, I just, like, I find that I can't ever really sit still. Like, I'm always wanting to, be surrounded by other, you know, I guess other creatively minded people or whatever, but just any person or anything that I can learn things from, and I'm always, and being surrounded with, you know, being able to occupy this space with all the equipment that we've all brought together, and all our own individual sort of voices and everything, and all the talent that we all individually bring, sort of works to make this greater whole, sort of thing. Like, you know, the whole's greater than the individual parts, sort of thing.
I agree.
So yeah, it's been a really positive thing for me, just in that light, to just to surround myself and to be able to feed off and exchange with a refreshing sort of
Can I cut in on that and
bring
say,
of
like,
talent.
when I went back into civilization
Yeah.
and like the civilized world, and people said to me like, "Oh, so who did you go down with and whatever?" And I was like, "Oh, just like a couple of guys that I used to play in the band with, and there's also like James and Jordan and people that understand like not only sound but like visual, like film and photography and stuff, and like people like that don't know the people that are here just don't quite get it, but at the same but we do. Like, I know that Ryan has this appreciation for sound, like you study it, like, and I know that Mott does as well, and I know that James and Jordan have this great like knowledge and appreciation for what looks good and what sounds good, and the process of going to like find something that sounds good or something that looks good. Like, you don't just go out onto your street and photograph whatever's in front of you. It's like to go somewhere and say like, I've not been here before.
The actual journey of
of going there and filming that journey, and then also recording your end sort of event. Like, people don't quite understand, like, to say like, oh, someone appreciates the noise or someone appreciates the visual art of recording the noise. Like,
it's like to me it was a really like a reinvention of the process of actually going and doing it, because like over time ideas sort of start to stack up, things, this would be cool to do or this would be that, but you don't get that sort of opportunity to be able to go and do it completely. Whereas out here and you could also you can think of those ideas and go, okay, that kind of works, but I can't do it yet, but yet you still have that idea going, it'll work, sort of thing, it'll work, but it's until you actually do it, and the physical process of actually making it and all those things, that's when it actually comes to light, and you actually hear it, or see it, or whatever it may be, that you realise, actually, that's not going to work. Or
but 3 steps back, when I was trying to create this, I was creating something completely ridiculous and awesome.
Or even how like ideas evolve. Like, you have an original idea, and then it kind of changes over time, and you sort of make the last, like, where you're up to when you finally get the availability to actually make the thing. You're kind of at that stage where it's evolved so many times in your mind.
Yeah, then you take the last little step of it.
And to make it. But then sometimes it was actually like perfect in the original, and only if you had the ability to record it like right then, when it was like a nice pure form idea, then it's actually what you were after. So it's like this sort of mind trap of trying to get things out, and like that's something I've gained. Like,
it's true. The recording of something doesn't necessarily start when you press record. It's the recording of everybody saying, you know what, we should go and just record a whole bunch of people like yelling into microphones. Like, cut.
Yeah.
That little bit played in front of a whole bunch of people recording into microphones just makes the whole thing a little bit more, like, yes, you can hear a whole bunch of people yelling into microphones, but everyone would say, why would you bother doing that? Like, well, then you cut back to everybody sitting around whatever, a table, and saying like, oh, it would be cool, this, and then like someone finally says like, oh, but if we did this through a microphone and we talk into it and then this happens and then whatever, we should record that. It makes a little bit more sense as to what we're doing, I suppose. Like, why bother doing it if you don't have this sort of like post or pre-recording that, I don't know, that's the same thing. It's like writing down all your ideas, but finally, like, when you get a chance to record something, you just go with the last thing that you think is good. But every other step before that could have been like
changed and
great in its sense. Like, if you recorded every other step before that, it would make much more sense as to how you got to the place that you're at. Like,
I think, sorry.
No, go.
The thing I've sort of found here, and also sort of made the biggest impression, is just sort of being able to breathe. I think musically, I think you mentioned something fairly similar, Ryan. It's just so nice to be able to just go, like, this is good. Like I can try this out and I can play this and like because you're surrounded by other musicians, you can say you know that you're sitting at home and you're playing something. You're like, oh, it'd sound really good if another guitar did this and like the drums did this and like we could have some sort of like wash effect and and you can try that here and then you can say actually you know what, that was rubbish, but I've thought of this other thing, and so it allows you just to really kind of
have
get
the
bigger,
interaction,
better,
having that interaction of other people around.
Yeah, it's and like learning how to sort of use instruments differently has definitely been sort of a big thing. Like looking at instruments and just sort of using them in the way that they're meant to. Like you get the results that's meant to come out, but like it's so much more fun just sitting down with this thing and just going, I wonder what I can do with this. Like, what can I do with this broken piano? I know, I'll stick a drill into it. I mean, it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but it was still like a really interesting experiment.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. I think just stemming from that idea of you have all these sort of little ideas, and sometimes you turn them into something there wherever your working space is in your individual home or something, and often you don't get the opportunity to do that, so you just sort of put it in your memory and sort of like
eventually forget it.
Well,
that's what I do.
Yeah, well, it does happen sometimes, as we've learnt. But yeah, I kind of find those that sort of thing. It's like waiting by the phone sort of thing. Like you have this idea and you start to work on this like a riff or a song or some sort of set or some sort of something, and as the idea evolves, sometimes you get to a point where it's like, oh, I've got nothing more for that, or I'm not sure about it, or I can't do it, I can't create this now, sort of thing. And so you just sort of waiting by the phone for these ideas to sort of call you back up, sort of thing. And since we've been out here with the resources and the people to be able to do it, I think we've been getting a lot of calls. It's like, hey, remember me? Like, like this idea that you had ages ago, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Out here, there's nothing to get in the way. There's no reason why things can't be achieved, really.
And also, like, one thing that I appreciate from being here is also Jordan's input into things, even though he's not here to talk about this now, but when he comes over, there's just that fifth brain that's ticking over in a different way to the way that everybody else's brain is ticking. And that, like, when four other people are going, oh, but what are we going to do? And then someone else is there to say, oh, but if we do this, like, hey, like, that's what I was trying to think of, but I couldn't quite get there.
It's almost like he's got the normal brain out of us here. We're all sort of drenched in that, what possibilities of, what could we do?
And
he comes in and
him being able to come and go as quickly as possible. Like, I've got this in my house, I've got this over here, I can just swap between the two. Like, that's really handy. Like, instead, like, I have to drive like 50 minutes away just to pick up my next bit of gear or come up with my next idea where he can go and sleep on it in his own bed, or and then he comes the next day and says like, oh, well, why don't you guys just try this? Like, I was thinking about that last night, or I think you should try this, or it's like refreshing, I suppose.
It's nice. It's
Alright, I'll ask a question to Sam. Sam.
Yes.
Well, Donald Chipsley.
Donald Chipsley of BBC Two. Well, I guess I just kind of find it interesting that how, like, your drum kit and that sort of whole side of your brain really has been pretty, like, out of action for a while. You know what I mean? Like, your drum set's been in your other house or piled up or whatever, and then and now it's sort of come out of the closet sort of thing and been resurrected. sort of how that experience has been for you in terms of like one getting back into that sort of mindset, and also I guess how you've managed to still be able to play drums after not doing it for 6 months, and then suddenly you're just like, fine.
No, but like I watched those videos of us playing before, and really the first thing that comes to mind was like I could really play drums then.
Yeah.
And I really can't now. Like, it's noticeable. Like I could not play that same set like the way as fluently or whatever as I did on that recording. But at the same time, like getting them back out and like really forcing myself back into being able to play again. Like you've got to learn straight up, and then you're hitting the things that you used to hit, and they all sort of sound the same as what they used to sound. But then it's that new way of going like, but I never tried this before, so if I do this, like that sounds heaps better than what I used to do. Like I'll hit it with this, and I'll do it in this sort of style, and you forget when you're playing something all the time to try something different.
To think outside of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, the way that you're playing starts to evolve, obviously, and you get better and better at the way you're playing. But you never ever stop and say like, change the way that you're playing. Like it's almost the same as like somebody playing a guitar, always playing a guitar clean, and then one day they just click on their distortion and go like, whoa, that's a whole new different way of doing that. Like, oh, now look at all the different noises that I can make and the different feels and the, I can make it sound really dirty or really, and you can change it a little bit. Like, so getting it back out and like saying, oh, this is how I used to do it, but now like let's try something how I've not done it before. Like I remember how I used to do it, and now let's try something new. I suppose let's change it. Yeah, it's all about change, I suppose, isn't it? Like, we would never have imagined ourselves when we were jamming to like whip out some sort of electronic instrument and just let's add this kind of like weird synth sound or whatever. Like that would just not have been kosher.
We just wouldn't have thought of it.
We just never would have imagined us doing it. But now, if we went back to jamming the way we used to, yes, we might play the same songs or the same sound or whatever, but we have this insight into like, but if we just do this, we'll add another little bit.
We could just add so much more. Like,
add so much more,
I was watching like those videos of our old set. Was it like 2 years ago now? About 2 years ago.
Yeah, it probably would be. Yeah.
And and I was just like, I was watching. I was like, I could have put something different in there. And I could have we could have like gotten in another instrument there. Like, I mean, because I'm only playing something simple there, so I could have done something with my other hand or whatever, Right.
So it's been good to have this time to spend reflecting on everything before winter.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. There's that time.
Yeah, it's the way you looking at the way you used to do things and realizing how much you could have done, I suppose, and then putting that into what you're doing now and saying, I won't let myself be restricted by what we're doing now, and realize the things that we could be doing more of or something, I suppose.
Yeah, because you kind of like with that example of the footage of that show, you're kind of aware of it because you remember the things you used to play or whatever, you remember things that you came up with when you were 14 or whatever. And you're like, I used to play this and I thought it was the best thing ever, this thing that rips off Limp Bizkit or something. And you remember it and you know that you're a different person now and that you've grown and you've learnt new things and your interests have changed and everything like that. But when you just have that sort of stark image of like, that's you on that screen doing that thing, and you're like, that's like, it's a completely objective sort of reference point. Like, it's not like,
true.
Like, oh, maybe it didn't suck so much. You look at a screen, it sucked. So it's like
negative feedback.
No, it's just
Another
it sort of kicks you into gear to keep growing, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's just really encouraged me. Like watching that video, just like to I mean, one, like, I just instantly noticed how many mistakes I was making at the time. It was also because in that shop I'd been drinking before we played that set, and so that's something I'm going to have to not do again.
And you obviously remember that set being absolutely awesome.
I don't really remember the set at all. Like, not from alcohol, but just because it was so long ago. But you know, that's something I've like learnt just from reflecting back on that video. Is just don't drink before you play because it doesn't have a good result. You know?
Yeah.
Unless you're at Winter. So
well,
that was a nice track.
No, we haven't been drinking when we created that noise track.
Yeah.
We only drink in the evenings here, most of the time.
Sort of.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
We only drink, like, drink.
yeah. Like,
It does sort of. It does help sometimes.
sometimes,
And sometimes
yeah.
hinders.
Sometimes it lubes up the mind, and other times it just, you know.
Sends you off into a ditch.
Yeah.
Back to the gutter.
But do you mind if I like just ask sort of a how did this all come about question? Like,
All right, we can do
how did we all? Does anyone?
I think
remember?
I should start because I think I came up with the initial idea to just take time off. I think we were in Melbourne.
Yep.
And before the big day out and whatnot, and I was I'd had one of these planned before, like the year before, with Jordan and Christine to do video work, but it didn't quite come through because of just money and accessibility to gear and all that. Blah, blah, blah. So I thought I'd have a go again, mainly because I really wanted to, and also I just sort of really needed to get out. So I remember, I think we were in Melbourne, and I think I was talking to you about let's just do some sound work. I didn't even say like we need to record this sort of thing or that. I don't think we even really talked about what we were going to record at all.
No.
It was just like you just want to take time out to, you know, to produce something, to have a go, that little holiday.
Yeah,
And then I think I just grew from there. Like then I think you asked Ryan, and then
we got Michael.
Yeah.
And it was like, Michael, you have to come out as well.
yeah.
And we'll get Jordan because Jordan will just because we can do it at my shack in Weymouth, and Jordan will be there because he lives in Weymouth. You know, later
seemed
on,
like the most
later on,
important-
we need drums. Like we need to have a drum set,
Yeah.
and we need someone who can play drums. Oh wait, we know a drummer,
Yeah.
and I'm fairly certain that he would be keen to come down. So in comes Sam, and you know, it's yeah, because I think where were we? We were sort of, I think it was some bar.
I remember asking you at that bar that
the Galaxy one or whatever it was called.
Ecuador or something.
Yeah.
El Ciudad. After I've just found $50 on the ground.
Oh, that's right.
And
That
we
was-
just
You're
had to
feeling
stop
lucky.
Yeah. 2 from 2.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think also that, like what we were talking about before, winter is like this. If we make it an annual event, it's like where we can all come back to and record the same sort of shit, but realise how different things have become, like in a year or something like, you know, like,
Yeah.
like we were saying, like, yes, we're playing the same thing that we think is cool, or we're playing something that we think is like sounds good now, but now we listen to it again, and back then it didn't sound good at all. Like,
Or did something like from here then grow, and then we actually used it for something else? Like we
Yeah.
actually found a place for it.
yeah, obviously, yeah.
It's like
A lot of
watching
the
a
stuff
little-
we didn't find a place for, though.
Yeah.
And some of the things we did find a place for.
We've got files and files of just noises that I don't know what we're going to do with. But, like, it was very entertaining creating them, you know, and it was educational, sort of working out how to make that sound. Like, you can make music, but how do you make like that noise?
Yeah.
And like consistently be able to make that specific noise. Like,
Yeah, so if it does become an annual thing, I suppose it's a good reference point for us all to be like, this is what we're doing now in
Yeah.
2011, and then
Like, this is what we thought was a good idea then. Now what we...
of course we think something else is a way better idea.
Yeah, and
in 2012.
yeah, what
You
else?
can judge, like, like you can, well, yeah, you can see how your different views on everything change over a whole year's worth of, sound recording and video recording and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, next question: do you see, like, if it does become an annual event, following on from Sam's thing, do you see like a stronger like visual side to Winter? Because like so far it's been a fairly kind of audio heavy kind of event.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always keen to do more visual work. I think sound is one of those things that you can. It's very tangible and it's something you can quite happily play with over time. Video, and when you get into the visual language, it's very physically thing orientated. And for example, here, like we can come here with sound, and we can still make rock and roll music and all different noise tracks. It doesn't matter which space you're in. We could be in Launceston or wherever in the world and still make this sound. You know what I mean? Whereas with the visuals, it does depend on what's around you. It is very much a space-orientated process. So that side is tricky to play with. I think that's why I kind of wanted to bring up like anything that would go well with sound, like some visual experiments, the rippling of the water and things like that, to see how they would sort of mesh together. But yeah, the visual work, it's just tricky because it's a thing-based art. Like it has to have some physical. It's not just atoms vibrating. It's the tree over there, and like all the colors we can change it to. You know what I mean? So it's a bit trickier to sort of do it on the spur of the moment, sort of thing. Yeah.
I can see that. Alright.
But yeah.
Let's eat.
All right.
Cool. Oh yeah, that's just burning.
All right, we'll give me another clap. Thank you.